the speakers to come to the table at the front here, please. Marut, very short, again, brief on Thailand Palestine Friendship Society, just 30 seconds.
Hello ครับเมื่อกี้ที่เพิ่งจบไปนะครับคือท่านดร.สมชายวิรุณผลนะครับท่านเป็นนายกสมาคมคนแรกของสมาคมมิตรภาพไทยปาเลสไตน์นะครับซึ่งเป็นหน่วยงานที่เรากำลังพยายามจัดตั้งขึ้นคิดว่าภายในอีกไม่กี่เดือนข้างหน้าเนี่ยควรจะเป็นรูปเป็นร่างขึ้นมาอย่างสมบูรณ์อยู่ในกระบวนการของการก่อตั้งอยู่กับทางรัฐบาลไทยนะครับวัตถุประสงค์ของสมาคมก็คือเพื่อส่งเสริมกิจการการแลกเปลี่ยนทางวัฒนธรรมสังคมการศึกษาการทูตการท่องเที่ยวการค้าการพาณิชย์ระหว่างประเทศไทยและปาเลสไตน์เป็นหลักนะครับแล้วก็ติดตามเรื่องความสัมพันธ์ระหว่าง2ประเทศที่น่าจะมีความสัมพันธ์แน่นแฟ้นขึ้นหลังจากที่ประเทศไทยได้ทำการรับรองประเทศปาเลสไตน์เป็นรัฐเรียบร้อยแล้วนะครับแล้วก็องค์กรของเราเนี่ยเมื่อก่อตั้งขึ้นแล้วก็อยากจะให้มีสมาชิกที่โดยเฉพาะคนที่เชื่อแล้วก็เชื่อมั่นในแนวทางที่พวกเรากำลังทำงานอยู่คือการรณรงค์เพื่อให้เกิดความยุติธรรมเพื่อในแผ่นดินปาเลสไตน์ให้เกิดขึ้นเนี่ยก็อยากจะเชิญชวนทุกท่านนะครับเข้ามาร่วมกันเป็นสมาชิกของ TPFS หรือว่า Thailand Palestine Friendship Society หรือว่าสมาคมมิตรภาพไทยปาเลสไตน์เนี่ยที่ด้านหน้าจะมีแบบฟอร์มสมาชิกอยู่แล้วนะครับก็สามารถลงทะเบียนสมัครโดยที่ไม่มีค่าใช้จ่ายใดๆนะครับก็ขอเชิญชวนทุกท่านนะครับรับบัตรสมัครแล้วก็ลงสมัครให้อีเมลให้ contact number ไว้ต่อไปถ้าเรามีอีเวนต์อะไรที่น่าสนใจเราก็จะเรียนเชิญทุกท่านอีกครั้งขอบคุณครับ
Thank you very much. Our speakers are now at the front here in front of you, and I would like to introduce first of all Dr. Imtiaz Yusuf, who is the Program Director at the Department of Religion, Graduate School of Philosophy and Religion at Assumption University. He specializes in religion with a focus on Islam in Thailand and Southeast Asia, and also Muslim-Buddhist dialogue. Dr. Yusuf is currently Senior Fellow at the Prince Al-Walid bin Talal Center for Muslim-Christian Understanding at Georgetown University, Washington, D.C. Dr. Yusuf will speak on the Arab Spring and Muslim Southeast Asia. Dr. Yusuf, please.
Thank you very much, Stuart, and thank you for Nick and all of you to be here this evening to hear me talk about the Arab Spring and Southeast Asia. It's already 9 o'clock. I'll try to be as brief I could be so that we can go home early. Talking about Middle East from Southeast Asia is very, very difficult because Middle East is pretty far from Southeast Asia, and Southeast Asians are not that much interested in the Middle East. So it really takes something to stir up to that people get interested in Middle East. And while I talk about the Middle East and Southeast Asia, there are implications for the Palestinian question here. And the implications come in the form of the rise of democratic governments in the Middle East, which will replace the previous or the current setup of mostly authoritarian and dictator governments in the Middle East. And it will also have implications for the PLO-Hamas alliance. Now, since last 1 year, we have been seeing the rise of the Arab Spring and success of Muslim parties, Muslim Islamist parties in Tunisia, in Egypt, and these things will continue to spread further as Arab Spring, which started in 2011 and will continue in 2012 and onwards. But a very interesting thing which is happening in the Middle East for the first time is that the Islamists and the secularists have formed an alliance, which was not there previously. This alliance is born out of their solidarity, and this solidarity is rooted in their suffering for imprisonment and torture under the repressive regimes of the Middle East. So the terms Middle East which you hear today is talking about democracy. Now, there is no one model of democracy. In Thailand, we have what some Thai scholars, political scientists call about rice model of democracy, or Thai rice model of democracy. So the term democracy itself is very, very contested. And there will be different varieties of forms of democracy which will emerge in the Middle East and also in different parts of the world. When I last counted the numbers of democracies in the Muslim world in 2011, in connection to the OIC, or the Organization of Islamic Conference, made up of 57 Muslim countries. In 2011, there were only 5 democracies: Malaysia, Bangladesh, Turkey, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Their number has increased since 2011 as Egypt is joining in, as Tunisia is joining in, as Morocco is joining in, Yemen is joining in, and hopefully other Syria and other countries in the Middle East. So the victory of the democratic movement in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East is born out of solidarity of people who have suffered under repressive regimes. If you look at the Middle East today, there are two types of democracies there. One is the imposed democracy in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And you have the rise of the grassroots movements democracies in the Arab Spring countries, which has sidelined the Bin Laden movement, the Islamic extremist movement. And this will bring about a variety of models of democracy in the Middle East. But the problem is that the West and the rest part of the world doesn't understand the Middle East. Why? It's because of Islamophobia. Islam is a religion of violent people. Muslims are violent and they are not fit to be democratic or civilized in this age. They are violent people, and this image will not go away until we address our basic biases and prejudices about Islam, and they will remain for a long time. I teach comparative religion, and the most problem which I find with my students is that to conceive a post-Christian religion is very, very difficult for people who believe in religions. Post-Christian religion like Islam is challenging, like every whatever religion which has emerged in history of religions. So there's a need to relook and revisit our biases and prejudices. And this is very well evident in what is going on in France and in Switzerland and other parts of the West, where they had problems first with the minarets, then had the problems with the hijab, and now they have the problem with the halal food. So all these things lead up and build up to Islamophobia. At the same time, Muslim countries have to address the issue of minorities living amidst them, which also needs to be challenged. So the challenge before the Arab Spring is that of sectarianism in the Middle East. And this sectarianism is playing out a role in the context of conflict between the Shia and Sunni, supported by certain Sunni countries supporting Sunni movements in Shia countries, and Shia countries supporting Shia movements in Sunni countries like Bahrain, Qatar, Iran, Syria. But the whole issue of the Arab Spring is the economic challenge. The Arab Spring started off as an economic protest, as an economic movement, with the suicide of Mohammed Bouaziz in Tunisia, and the issue in the Middle East is that they have informed youth. They have an informed youth which is hungry and which is looking for jobs and development. And unless and until the new regimes which are emerging in the Middle East don't address the issue of economic development, this political change or democracy will not be enough. I'm not going to say, I'm going to skip some of my points here and come directly to Southeast Asia. Now, there's a difference in the way religion is understood in the Middle East and the way religion is understood in Southeast Asia. In the Middle East, religions revolve around the questions of theology and race. In Southeast Asia, they revolve around the question of ethnicity. When I came to Thailand for the first time, they normally ask me, what is your religion? Sasana Arai. And I would say, I'm a Muslim. And they would say, the taxi driver would say, mai kinmu and mi si paraya. You don't eat pork and you have 4 wives. This is the definition of Islam in Thailand. And when I was teaching in southern Thailand at Pattani, my Malay friend, I told you about this already, my Malay colleague who said to me, Imtiaz, you are a Muslim, is good. Were you a Malay, I would love you more. Now, that is pretty difficult for a Muslim to take, because in Islam we have the concept of fraternity of Muslims no matter wherever you are from. So it really I hit the roof when this kind of expression came. I heard from my friend, a Malay friend in Pattani. Now, why I'm saying this? Because in Southeast Asia, religions operate along ethnic lines. A Thai is a Buddhist, a Malay is a Muslim, and a Filipino is a Catholic, and a Chinese is a Taoist, a Confucianist, or a Christian. And this is how religions operate in Southeast Asia. But if you see, as we go towards the formation of the ASEAN community, the 2 major religions of this part of the world will be Islam and Buddhism. Islam constitutes about 42% of Southeast Asia, and Buddhism constitutes about 40% of Southeast Asia. So there is a need to go towards pluralism and dialogue, and this is going to be a challenging for Southeast Asia. But Southeast Asian Muslim world, which is made up of the maritime countries, including Malaysia, what we see there is that they have been democratic, and they have developed they have become models of development for the Middle Eastern countries. But yet ethnic identity is predominating in Southeast Asia. But in modern times, we have seen the rise of nationalist leaders in Southeast Asian Muslim countries. We have also seen Islamization project taken up by the states, with the formation of Islamic banks, Islamic universities, Islamic educational institutions in Southeast Asia. And the three personalities which come to my mind when I talk about Muslim democracies in Southeast Asia, or the Islamic movement, the democratic movement in Southeast Asia, are first is Nur Khalis Majid in Indonesia, who said, Islam yes, Islamic Party no. And second is Abdurrahman Wahid or Gus Dur in Indonesia. Both of them have passed away, who talked about forum democracy or civil society in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia. And when he became the president of Indonesia, he really pluralized the country. Though Indonesia is having the setback these days with the rise of fundamentalism, which is challenging the state Indonesia, and Indonesia has really to figure out how to go about with the challenge of fundamentalism these days. The third person which comes to my mind is Anwar Ibrahim, who has emerged after a successful success or victory against the trials against him, and he is talking about pluralist in Malaysia. The future for Malaysia has to be pluralist, unless otherwise you'll get into a problem. So I would like to conclude here by saying that Southeast Asia offers a model for the Middle East. Southeast Asian Muslim countries, and the model of development and democracy. And what does Middle East have for Southeast Asian Muslims? Middle East has an agenda of post-Islamism for Southeast Asian Muslim countries and Muslim populace, telling them that we have moved into a global age and things have to change, and we have to move more towards pluralism. But the heartening thing, and this is my last point here, is that democracy is getting rooted or is being formed for the first time in the Middle East, and there are many challenges for it in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf, very much. It should be known that we have tried to get Dr. Yusuf here to talk at one of our events before, but he's always been very busy. He's a very busy man, but certainly it's been worth waiting for him to come. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks.
Our next speaker is Mr. Nick Ferryman, who is a lecturer in the Humanities and Languages Division of Mahidol University International College, and Nick is also our dear Vice Chairperson of PSC Thailand. And Nick is going to talk about the need to challenge the US and the UK over their support for Israel's occupation of Palestine. Nick.
Test. Stuart, thank you, and good evening, everybody. It's an honor and a privilege to be invited back to speak again to commemorate the Nakba. It's also an honor and a privilege to share the platform again with Professor Imtiaz Yusuf. We spoke together at a seminar last year at Mahidol University International College, where I teach. I'm particularly interested in what Professor Imtiaz has to say. He talks about pluralism in Islam, and I would like to add my own appeal to Islam, to our Muslim brothers and sisters, to fully embrace pluralism and modern secular democracy. The reason I do that, I don't think there's anything to lose and everything to gain by doing so.